Did Vikings actually wear horned helmets? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Vikings did not wear horned helmets. But unfortunately, it seems like we need to revisit this topic yet again because the myth just won't seem to die. So, let's put this one to bed once and for all. I'm the host, and this is the channel. The main reason why people think that Vikings wore horned helmets is because they've seen it in movies like The Northman, Vikings, How to Train Your Dragon, and countless others. Even some museums perpetuate the myth. For example, the British Museum describes this horned helmet as being typical of those worn by Viking warriors. But what does the archaeology actually tell us? Well, only one complete Viking-era helmet has ever been discovered. It was found in Norway in 1943 and is now known as the Geirmundbu helmet after the farm where it was discovered. This helmet, which dates to around 900 AD, is made of a simple, rounded iron cap with a nose guard. It features no horns at all. In fact, the only archaeological evidence we have for horned helmets being worn by Vikings comes from a handful of 19th century finds. So where did the horned helmet image come from? Well, it was popularized by the 1876 costume designs for Wagner's opera Der Ring der Nibelungen. These designs, which are considered highly inaccurate by modern standards, show the legendary Germanic characters Brunhild and Gudrune wearing horned helmets. This image then leaked into popular culture and has never really left us, even though it has no basis in reality. Let me explain. In 1839, a Bronze Age burial was discovered on the Danish island of Funen. Inside the grave, the team uncovered a cauldron, several vessels, a sword, an axe, and a horned helmet. Although the helmet was damaged, it was clear that it was made of bronze and featured two long, straight horns. This find was significant because at the time, people believed that Vikings were essentially barbarians who wore simple leather and mail tunics and carried horned helmets into battle. The helmet had clearly been made by skilled craftsmen and must have belonged to a wealthy person. As a result, it was assumed that Vikings must have been wealthier and more sophisticated than previously thought. It would be another 3 decades, however, before scholars realized that the helmet was actually from the late Bronze Age, around 900 BCE, predating the Vikings by 1,700 years. As far as we can tell, it was likely used in religious rituals rather than warfare. Similar horned helmets from the same period have been found throughout Europe, from the British Isles to Greece, indicating that they were used by various cultures during the late Bronze Age collapse. But the Vikings were not one of these cultures. In fact, there is no evidence that horned helmets were used in Scandinavia after the Iron Age began around 800 BCE. And even if they had been, we have no reason to believe that they were still being used during the Viking Age. So to summarize, not only is there zero archaeological evidence to support the claim that Vikings wore horned helmets, there's also evidence to suggest that they didn't. So I think it's safe to say that the horned helmet is nothing more than a myth. So next time you see a video or movie depicting Vikings wearing horned helmets, remember that it is not based on historical evidence. But if you want to learn more about the real Viking Age, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn more about the real Viking Age with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and if you'd like to learn more about the Viking Age, I've got a lot more videos here for you to watch.